Testing.
Testing. Testing.
Testing.
Testing.
We can do it, or we can switch mics, and I can start.
Sure.
Good morning and welcome to the World Junior Ultimate Championships here in Waterloo. We are on the showcase field brought to you by Cut Camps. Sorry about the first point delay there, just some technical difficulties up here in the booth with our mics. Hopefully you were able to see the first point. We had Team USA scoring on O, that's a hold. So now they're going to turn it around on D. Pull out to the sideline. Throw under Manuela Conderas. That's Esteban on the sideline. Back to the middle. Nice grab. Cardenas in the middle. Out to Gomez. All the way upfield. Arango looking into the end zone. Nice inside shot. Unfortunately, just a little bit too far out of the hands of Gomez. I don't think she saw that coming up right away. USA all the way up the sideline. And a nice recovery there by Tornquist. Pig swing across. Nguyen shoots deep. Claire Trope looking at the end zone. And unfortunate shot, but it's still picked up by number 88. That's Cleo Phillips. So Team USA rattling off 2 points in a row. Some really clean offense from Team USA there and really capitalizing on a Colombia mistake. We've talked about that earlier in the tournament. Any teams that make mistakes, some of these higher ranked teams, the Colombia, USA, Canada, these 3 top ranked teams, they're going to take any mistake and run with it and be able to put it in the bank. We've had a chance to see Colombia on the live stream as well as Team USA, both teams that are very strong in this tournament. Both teams who've been challenged so far. Team USA facing off against the Netherlands yesterday and fighting off a universe point scare. It ended up 15-14 in the rain and in the wind. Colombia, on the other hand, playing against Team Canada in the on this field a few days ago. what feels like a few days ago now, and that came out Colombia on top 15-13, so that was a Colombian upset. Very exciting ultimate here today. I think we're going to see something big. We have Valeria Cardenas picking up in the middle, her sister Manuela isolated out on the sideline on the break side, so I think we can expect her to get the disc and perhaps look deep. Back to Manuela Cardenas. Lots of separation upfield. That's the lefty, Medina. Velasquez on the sideline. Nice mark from Team USA. Aristasabal. Very frantic Colombian offense, but they get it back to Valeria Cardenas. And a run through D, that's number 11, Dawn Colton. And Team USA right on the end zone line. And out into space. Can she keep it in? Yes, she can. That is Ella Jungst for the goal. And right away, we have Team USA going up 3-0.
You could see Colombia there on the sideline having difficulty swinging the disc all the way across the field. There is a bit of a breeze coming from the far side of the field towards us here. Maybe having a little bit of a hard time with their resets. They were crowding the disc close. Maybe a case of some nerves here early in the day against another top team here in the bracket. We'll see what Colombia can do coming out of this timeout.
And I think Colombia taking this timeout, they know that they can do better than this. We've seen so much interesting offense from this Colombian team. Team USA here just doing a really good job of shutting down some of those undercuts and doing a really good job of stifling the Cardenas twins, making it so difficult for them. But it's important to note this team is so much more than just the two of them. They have some really talented players on this team, and in players like Laura Arango. We saw her with a few twisting layout grabs in the showcase a few days ago as well. Jenny Medina, the lefty handler, and Gomez as well. Actually, Gomez taking the main anchor handling spot on this Colombian team. So I think they're going to come out of this timeout ready to play, ready to run with their legs, and I think they're going to maybe give Team USA a little bit more to work with.
At this point, if you're the Colombian coach, what would you be saying to your team to get them to push out of this timeout?
I mean, I think we saw something in the warm-up. I was taking a look at both teams, and you saw Team USA running their end zone, practicing their systems, and then you saw the Colombian team on the sideline talking together, chanting together, and so I think this team relies so much on their heart, and sometimes the ultimate is a little bit more exciting. It's not as systematic as we see from some other teams. And so I think they're going to come out fired up. I think that's what they need to push them through so that they can get a goal on the board.
There's that heart you were talking about. Lots of chanting and cheering here on the sideline from the Colombian team.
So Team USA pull at the brick. Valeria Cardenas picking up. Out to Gomez. Looking back at her. Cut back to the middle. Lots of quick movement here from Colombia. Gomez looking at the end zone. And unfortunately, the Colombian player tries to keep it in bounds, that throw from Gomez, and can't quite hang on to it while watching her feet. So now we'll have Amy Nguyen picking up right on the front cone. And Colombia going to put on a zone here, going to try and make it as difficult as they can for USA to get off the sideline. And that's a shot to the middle to Trope. Out to McCann. A big fake upfield. Colombia staying in their zone look, putting on some pressure. That's Trope with a disc. Arango on the mark. Claire Trope going every other here, doing so much work for the for Team USA. Cleo Phillips on the sideline, back to Trope. This Colombian zone leaving a few open players. Inside shot, Phillips right on the doorstep. Trope shoots it inside, and that's a big throw. But Erin McCann runs it all the way out and gets there. What do you think about that Colombian zone, Melissa?
I think it put a lot of good pressure on the American handlers. Unfortunately, the downfield part of their zone, their midfield and their backfield was playing a little bit tighter person to person, and it was allowing gaps to open up where a U.S. player could step in and gain those 10, 15 yards upfield from their handlers, able to move the disc across. I'd like to see those backfield players maybe play a little bit more into space, less so on a person to take away throwing lanes as opposed to the person on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's good to note that it's a lot less windy today. It's a beautiful day here in Waterloo, around low 20s, sort of low 70s in Fahrenheit. So and there's not a lot of wind today. So for Colombia to put on that zone, it's not putting on as much pressure because Team USA has some world-class elite throwers, and they can pinpoint virtually any throw that they want. So if they're looking at a loose zone like that, they can find the gaps and put those inside flicks, which weren't working yesterday for a lot of teams, but they're definitely going to work today. And that is a big pull from Team USA. Gomez taking the risk, digging it out of the ground. Lots of quick movement from Colombia here. And Valeria puts it into the middle. Unfortunate drop. Team USA with another chance. We have Rachel Hess and Sky Fernandez working in the backfield. Looking up, that's a big throw, but Gomez is in the area and she knocks it out of the way. That's a great D from Gomez.
Well done by the Colombian player to make up that distance all the way across into the deep end of her end zone. A few new handlers, I think, out here on the line for the USA, maybe seeing a little bit of those nerves with their first touch on the field.
Arango still uncovered. She's a dangerous person to leave open. So many quick passes from Colombia, not really throwing more than 3 yards out there. Manuela Cardenas looking upfield. Arango. Valeria Cardenas right on the sideline, looking to the middle. An unfortunate inside flick there, tries to get it across the field in a high stall count, and Colombia can't pick it up. USA here with another chance. That's Sky Fernandez in the middle. And that is a turnover. So Colombia is going to pick up on the brick mark, or on the brick line.
Colombia having a really hard time this point so far, getting it off this open sideline. They're doing a great job of moving the disc up the field, but are really keeping it to 10, 15 yards from the sideline, not able to quite spread the field yet.
And Team USA poaching in the open side. leaving Arango wide open, and Valeria Cardenas able to punish that. So Colombia is going to get on the board for the first time in this game. It is 4-1.
So this will be our first opportunity, I believe, to see the U.S. offensive line coming out here.
It's a very tall-looking line out there. Colombia actually not as tall, I think, as the Team USA people, but they definitely have hops, so we'll see what they can do on defense. We'll see if they put on that zone again. It's going slightly up. Team USA will be going slightly upwind. It's possible. We've seen when we saw Colombia play Canada a few days, they played sort of a junky poach person defense, so we'll see what they do there. I think it'll be great to see what this Colombian D-line can do, and we'll see how Team USA executes. They've had such a successful tournament so far. Really not teams really putting that many points up against them except for the Netherlands yesterday, so very interested to see how they can execute. Picking up to the middle, that's Stephanie Phillips. Out into space, nice grab. And it's like there's not even any defense here. So much space. And just easy run on for Stacey Gaskell.
The U.S. making that offensive point look easy. Colombia may be a little slow to pick up their players, allowing the U.S. to move the disc immediately upfield, moving all the way across to the far side of the field and then back to the near sideline in order to score that goal. Great use of space by the U.S.
Yeah, that movement, it was impossible for Colombia to try and stop that. They were able to use all four sides of the field so well, left to right, up and down. So that was really, really commendable by this U.S. offensive line. That was Stacey Gaskell with the catch. We had an American parent come up to us in the booth before the game, and so apologies. We had some misinformation on our roster sheets last time we streamed these guys and said that Stacey was going to the wrong school. She's actually been accepted into the University of Colorado, but she is deferring this year because she's competing with the U.S. snowboarding team. So multi-talented. She's going to be going to the World Cup. So good on you, Stacey. You're exploring the slopes, but also roaming in the back of the end zone. So very impressive from Stacey Gaskell. And now we have Team USA again with the pull. That's a nice pull. It's going to float all the way to the end zone. An unfortunate drop from Gomez. She was already looking upfield before she hung on to that grab. Colombia going to have to make an end zone stand. There's no mark. Rachel Hess taking her time. Colombia playing frantic defense. And that's a lefty shot. High stall count, unfortunate turnover. Colombia so lucky to get this one back. Manuela Cardenas, that's a tight U.S. Cup here. The U.S. really recognizing that this wind coming cross field is going to have some play, forcing the Colombian players tight against that sideline and having to swing it against the wind to get any sort of movement. Colombia moving it back and forth laterally really nicely. Arango on the sideline. Tight passes, 1 yard passes. And a layout bid from Team USA, but can't quite get there. Manuela Cardenas looking for the scuba, looking for anything, chooses to dump back to Arango, back out to the middle. That's Velasquez with the disc. Back to Cardenas. To Gomez. Colombia off to the races. And again, another layout bid. A little slow to get up. The cup is off. Gomez doing tons of work here, getting all these quick passes, looking towards the end zone. Not a lot of movement. She has Arango in the back corner. Instead, back to Velasquez, all the way across. Team USA switching to person defense here. And looks like they are trying to call Laura Arango out of bounds.
Interesting, you'll see that Colombia doesn't have a lot of players that sit in the midfield. Many of their players against this zone are sitting in the backfield, just electing to work those small passes around the zone.
That's a nice grab under pressure by Aristizabal. And into the end zone, layout attempt, but Colombia hangs onto it. That's another great grab by Arango.
The U.S. showing a lot of grit on that point. I think 3 layout attempts for a D there, unfortunately just coming up short all 3 times. Colombia being patient, working their game as opposed to playing to the U.S. and capitalizing on that score.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. Is they were sticking with their game, those 1, 2, 3 yard passes back and forth, not really allowing the U.S. to set a stall count. That's what we've seen from Colombia in the past. We saw it a lot from them on Wednesday, I believe, when we stream, or Tuesday. I can't remember. All the days are the same now, but we saw so many of those quick little passes from Colombia. They would dish it back and forth until they were able to spot a hole in the Canadian defense, and then they would shoot it deep. And we haven't really seen any hucks from Colombia yet, but they had so much success with that with all their athletic receivers. So I'm sure we'll be seeing that soon. But for the time being, we have Team USA on offense, ready to see what they can do again this time. So we have Claire Lanier in the middle. Team USA out to the sideline. And a big throw out into space, a layout grab. That's a great grab by number 43.
Again, the U.S. just showing how athletic they are. Full extension bids here to come up with the disc.
Stacey Gaskell throws into space. The wind is picking up. You can start to see some of those discs fluttering a little bit. Campana looking at the end zone. That's Gaskell. Inside shot. It's going to pop up. And still hung on to. Lots of pressure defense, but that's a really great grab by Claire Stewart.
The U.S. had 2 receivers there ready to come down with that disc. As you said, the wind is starting to pick up. I think we're going to see a few discs starting to pop up in the air, giving both teams a little bit more of an opportunity to try and come down with those big plays.
Yeah, and that was impressive from Team USA. I think to track that down, that's really good discipline when you see a throw pop up into the air like that. I think, you know, those inside flicks, they are really tough to get off when you're going upwind. So great on that USA player for tracking it down when it popped up like that.
Colombia defense doing a bit of a better job against the American O-line there, getting their defense set a little earlier than they did compared to their last defensive point. They put a lot more pressure on the U.S. I think we're starting to see a shift in their momentum a little bit less frustration from the players on the field as they start to see the connections develop, as they start to put that pressure on, get their legs moving on the field. I think we're going to see a bit of a momentum change through the second half of this first half for Colombia.
And we were chatting up in the director's office this morning. We actually saw some Team USA and Colombian players here at like 6:45 this morning, which is totally bananas. That is so early. Their game wasn't until 9, but both teams trying to prepare for this game. So it's also possible that there's a little bit of a fatigue on the field there. That's a really early morning for these players in what has been already a really long tournament. So we have Arango on the sideline, but a pick called. So that looks like Jenna Krugler on Team USA is going to have to go back to catch up with her Colombian offensive player. Esteban holding it. Not a lot of options. and a layout D attempt, but Colombia, that's Santanera, is going to call a foul. A little bit of contact there. Something that we've been talking a lot about this week is WFDF rules versus USAU rules. So any sort of contact, whether the disc was in your hands or not, under WFDF rules, can be called as a foul.
And that can be a hard rule to adjust to for these U.S. players when they are so used to playing the USAU rules. Great spirit from the U.S. player to recognize that there was a lot of contact moving in on that disc and to not contest that call.
An unfortunate turnover. Velasquez turning, but Team USA, that's number 21, Pei-Shin Rong, comes down with that floaty throw.
Great opportunity for a fast break there from the U.S. after that turnover, immediately picking up the disc, sending it soaring into the end zone to the U.S. receiver. Great choice to take the opportunity when you see it. They had the wind at their backs, and a good one-on-one battle in the end zone.
Absolutely, and we can really see the pedigree of this USA team. We're taking a look at some of the teams that these players have been on in the past, and we see tons of YCC teams, that's the Youth Club Championships, like essentially the national championships in the U.S., along with national team players playing at the club level, the highest end. We see people on, Slow White, Underground, Riot, Schwa, a lot of these huge teams that you're always hearing about in the adult division. So Team USA really showing their stripes. They have such a formidable juniors program that filters into the adult program. So you can see that on the field. Colombia, definitely a smaller pool of women to pull from, but Team USA really, really showing how fantastic the American Ultimate program is.
Absolutely. So much depth on this American team. Like you said, so many players who are playing already on club teams at the national level in the U.S. Colombia also has some strong players. Maria Paula Santos representing Colombia at the World Ultimate Guts Championships in 2016. I was there. I was 29. She was 15. So pretty impressive, some of these players we have on the field today on both sides of the disc.
And we did talk about that. We called this Colombian women's team on a few days ago when they played Team Canada, and they are really so much more than the Cardenas twins. Obviously, those two women are incredible. We've seen so many incredible plays from them in the last 5 years or so. They've been to more world championships than probably most people, definitely most people their age. But some of these players on Colombia have been playing on Revolution and Aerosol and Fire, which is the mixed team. And so, it's so impressive. These women have been playing at a high level for so long. A lot of them have experience on the world stage. A lot of them have experience in really high-pressure games. So I think we can see a lot of maturity from a lot of women on both sides. So Team USA to pull. They are at 7, Colombia at 2. So this will... If USA is able to break here, this will take them into half. Gomez to Valeria Cardenas. And a bit of a collision. Laura Arango down after colliding with the Team USA player. I think just neither player saw each other there.
Mm-hmm. One of those injuries where it just stings initially up front. I think both players giving each other a high five, letting them know that they're both okay.
So the stall count is going to go in on 2. Gomez with the disc. Oh, and a nice grab. That's number 18. Santanera didn't see that going up, but unfortunately a gust of wind picks that out of the ground. And Arango, it's just out of the hands for her. Hess on the sideline. Nice floating shot upfield. It's Fernandez. This pair has been handling on the D-line together all morning. Shot out to the middle. It's Johnson. Don Colton with a nice throw to Jungst. And Colombia playing stifling defense. Big shot out into space. That's a blading flick. And Don Colton is going to pick that up. So that is Team USA at 8. And they're going to take us into the halftime.
I think we are seeing the depth here on this USA roster, using all of their players to score these points, using all of their players on defense. When you look at the Colombian team, you're seeing a lot of the same players touching that disc often, moving it through a lot of the same 3-4 players on the field, where the U.S. is really spreading it around. I think we're just seeing that U.S. level. Again, they're pulling from so many club teams. They're pulling from such a large population that they're able to build a roster of such strong women, and we're seeing a bit of that imbalance at this point in the game.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a long tournament for both teams, and Colombia has been tested a little bit more than Team USA has. So I think we're starting to see a little bit of that fatigue for sure. But for now, we're going to take a quick break in this halftime, and we will be back in 5. All right, good morning. Welcome back. We're in Waterloo. This is the 2018 World Junior Ultimate Championships. We are into power pools today. We have Colombia facing off against Team USA. They've dug themselves into a little bit of a hole. It's 8-2, but while these teams are getting set up onto the field, we just wanted to give you a quick heads up about the other games happening today. These are all happening in Eastern Time. So right now it's 9:38 Eastern Time. The next game that we have is at 11. It's the last round of men's pool play. So that's going to be Hong Kong facing off against the Dominican Republic rather. And then next at 1 p.m. we will have the next women's power pool game, which will be Germany versus Japan. At 3 p.m. we have our men's quarterfinal, so we are still waiting on the results for that. That will happen later today, so we will let you know who that will be in that quarterfinal. And then the very last round of today will be the last round of women's power pools. So it's going to be Canada taking on the Netherlands. So that's going to be very exciting. We can't wait for the rest of the day. Again, I'm Naomi Redmond. I'm joined in the booth by Melissa Dunbar. We're both very happy to be here. Bringing you great women's ultimate, great junior women's ultimate.
We were talking before the half about how deep this U.S. team is, and we were looking at some of the stats from yesterday. The U.S. doing a great job of getting 17 players on their roster on their offensive stat sheet. So again, we can see that they're really utilizing their whole team when it comes to their offensive play.
And we had Colombia off to the races a little bit there, but I believe a collision or a little bit of body contact gets Ella Yunks to the ground. So where the disc is going to stay with Manuela Cardenas, and we are going to go back. She is going to dish it to the middle, moving quickly now. We're at the sideline. Gomez. A lot more contact. Team USA playing really tight person defense here. Gomez in the middle, looking to the end zone. She's looking to the break side. Valeria Cardenas. Scuber over the top. Colombia throws an inside and a layout D attempt, but Laura Arango comes up with it.
And that's the flow that we were looking to see from Colombia, slowing the game down a little bit. We saw early in the first half that they were moving very quickly, sometimes causing some execution errors on their throw. But here, coming into the second half, they looked comfortable, they looked confident, getting a beautiful inside-out throw for the score.
And we talked a little bit about Laura Arango earlier as well. She was absolutely critical in Colombia's win over Canada the other day, and I'm certain over some of the other wins that Colombia has had. She is essentially Colombia's main receiver, other than the Cardenas twins, getting passes from them as well as Gomez and Medina. So she's been playing on both lines, O and D, and really great at making those grabs under pressure. We've seen her make some incredibly athletic plays so far, as well as picking that up with a laying out defender in front of her. I believe that's the second time she's been sort of stuffed into that tricky situation today, and she is just playing fantastically.
A little bit of a different look here from the USA offensive line. A few different players on the field from who they had on in the first half on their offensive points. A little bit of a shorter offensive line than we've seen from them.
So it looks like an offside call. So Colombia to pull again. Something that we've talked about in the past. So this game, we have game advisors, and so they can call the offside if they see either the offense or the defense offside on the pull, but it's the other team's responsibility for calling it, recognizing it, if they want it to be observed. So Gomez with the pull again. It's going to sit just behind the middle mark of the field. Disc out into space. That's Gaskell. Kate Lanier in the middle. Lefty throw around the jam side. Nice throw into space. And looked off for the high release backhand. That's to number 23, Carly Campana.
The U.S. looked really comfortable on that point there. You could see they were finding success. Colombia setting up a zone look initially against them, but the U.S. just moving it beyond the cup too quickly for them to really shut down any of that movement. Once that disc moved beyond the cup, it was a wide open field space for the U.S. to play with. We saw some poaching from the Colombia reset defenders, again giving the U.S. some easy resets there to move the disc.
And if you think that if Colombia gets it back out on defense on one of these points, do you suggest to them that they go person, match defense, or zone? What do you think?
I think they've been having their most success when they're matching up person to person. They're a high energy team. They're putting some pressure on. They have to remember that they're small and that they need to take that step off of these larger U.S. players to really take the space. But I think so far the U.S. team has been so successful moving it through their cup that person to person throughout this second half might be their best defensive look against the U.S. team.
And we did see something similar a few days ago with Colombia putting on sort of person on the handlers and then really playing under on some of the cutters and sitting someone deep. And that was extremely effective against Canada. So I hope to see that again because it at least made them nervous. But that is a nice throw into space. And Valeria Cardenas gets in, no problem. Little leapfrog action from her sister. So that is Colombia at 4. And I think that's what we need to see from this Colombian team. There's a little bit of space that they have to make up, so they're going to have to start taking some shots.
Absolutely, and they have the players who can throw, and they definitely have the receivers who can make those athletic plays and come down with the disc in the end zone. You're right, they need to push here. They need to make up some time, need to make up some points in the second half. So more fast transition offense should be successful for the Colombian offense.
And we still have round about an hour on the clock, so there's lots of time here. Anything can happen in the second half. Big floating pull. It's going to sit so Colombia can get under it on defense. Team USA in the middle. That's a nice inside shot to loads of space. Break. Backhand. That's Stephanie Phillips. Lots of defense from Colombia, but able to get it out into the middle. Stacey Gaskell, about 8 yards outside the end zone. Colombia switching to a poachier defense, leaving players all alone, and they will be punished for that. Team USA is now at 10, Colombia at 4.
USA certainly using the whole width of the field on that point. The wind really pushing here towards the near sideline, but the U.S. not afraid to throw some really nice I.O. breaks over to that break side, opening up the whole field. You're right, Colombia getting punished a little bit for that poaching. They came down in great person-to-person defense, but had one poach initially off the start of the pull, which really allowed the U.S. to move the disc up the field quickly to the poached player and then push all the way to the end zone. Colombia just unfortunately not able to catch up.
Yeah, Team USA here, absolutely elite. Every player on this field capable of putting the disc at will wherever they want to. So and really good, really mature offense as well, able to see the space. We haven't seen Team USA really make an offensive mistake yet. They haven't thrown into a poach. They haven't turfed any throws. So Colombia would do good to just play really, really hard person-to-person defense instead, because I really feel like their zone isn't throwing off Team USA very much. They're so composed. But instead, we're going to see them on offense here, and we're going to have Gomez in the middle. Team USA set up in a zone of their own, and a threaded shot out to Laura Arango. She is towing the sideline. We're back in the middle at the half line. Gomez scoops one out in the ground, then throws one through the cup. Colombia throwing all the way through the cup here. They're just 2 yards outside the end zone. Nice around throw from Manuela Cardenas. USA transitioning into match defense. And that is in sister-to-sister connection. Colombia back on the board at 5.
Manuela Cardenas really controlling that point. She was getting that disc almost every other pass. Very controlled on her offensive play, not rushing, utilizing her speed when she needs to, but slowing the disc down to make sure that her Colombian teammates were open before they were making any throws, really making sure that they dialed in to get that offensive point.
I think definitely Colombia showing a lot of body control there, really able to dial in their throws, because that is sort of the downwind corner. That corner is probably the most difficult place to score in on the field right now. So very impressive from the Colombian women. They showed a lot more composure on that point than we've seen in the past. A little bit less frantic, so we'll get another look at their defensive line. We have Valeria on the pole back out on the field, and some of the other defensive, the usual suspects. Same goes for the USA offense. This offense has been so clinical so far. I don't really think we've seen them make a mistake. So we are we are ready to go. Alyssa Earhart out into the middle. That's Stacey Gaskell. She's looking deep, and that is a hand block, but I think it works. Colombia forcing backhand, struggling to get onto the right side of their players. And that is a goal for Team USA.
Again, like you said, the U.S. just not making any mistakes on offense. The closest we got there was that touch on a hand block. Unfortunately for Colombia, that wind just popping that disc right back up to the U.S. receiver so they could maintain possession. But again, the U.S. just clinical on their throws, not afraid to move the disc around, not afraid to break the disc upfield.
Yeah, and really great recognition from the American player who picked up that errant throw. I think really that hand block is the only thing that we've seen that hasn't been exactly what Team USA wanted, and they still were able to capitalize on it. Really great heads-up playing from Team USA today. Getting challenged, I feel, a little bit more by Colombia on defense there, but still able to scoop up everything that went up in the air.
It's interesting to see the comparison between the Colombian handlers and the U.S. handlers and how they set up on the field. Colombia using those 2 to 3 yard passes only, not doing a lot of swinging the disc, but instead kind of working the inside of the field in those small little dish passes, waiting for opportunities, where you see the U.S. handlers really spreading the field, making sure they have those big around swings that open up the field. It's been working well for them so far. Maybe something that Colombia could try to adjust to in the second half of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we see an unfortunate upline pass just gets pushed down a little bit by the wind. So Team USA is going to get another chance on O. It's Fernandez in the middle. And a little bit of contact. Both players going for the disc. Not really sure of where the other person is. So Don Colton is going to keep it here. Some switching defense. Laura Rango putting out a poach up deep. Colombia playing a lot of switching defense here. And that is a high throw. Nice athletic grab by Don Colton. That is a lefty shot out to the break side of the end zone. That's a really, really nice throw to Tess Johnson.
The U.S. making their break throws look easy. Just finding those opportunities to step around. Their throws are so flat, so well executed. It doesn't really seem to matter if they're throwing to an open side or throwing to a break side. They have an open receiver and they're going to hit it.
And I think something that we were mentioning, the Colombian offense making really short passes, two handlers staying really close, and you can see the difference there from Team USA. I think that's the most passes they've had to take to score so far, often scoring in maybe 5, 6, or 7 passes to work the whole way down the field, where Colombia feels like they're taking 30, 40 passes instead. So it's very different, but sometimes some of those short passes, just from the mathematics alone, there's a higher percentage of them turning it over. Colombia doing a really good job to keep possession high on those, but every once in a while there's just one mistake, and Team USA not letting Colombia get away with those mistakes, just not letting them get it back.
And that's what you're seeing from these really elite teams, is the ability that when the other team turns it over to capitalize on every error they make. The U.S. not really giving Colombia a lot of opportunity to get the disc back once it's back into the U.S. hands on offense.
So Team USA with a different zone look here. Colombia breaks it with a flick over the zone. Manuela Cardenas does it again. She is every other pass.
And again, we see all 3 Colombian handlers probably within 15 yards of each other. Very tight space here on the field.
Laura Rango right on the sideline. But a nice integrity call here by Manuela Cardenas. Sees that her foot is on the line, and that is a high pass, but Fernandez able to scoop it up.
The Colombian men's team here has showed up on the sideline trying to infuse some energy into this women's team on the field. Lots of excitement now, lots of cheering.
It is absolutely frantic here. This is the first time where we've seen the whites of the eyes of some of these Team USA players. You can really see the stress level rising, and there it is. I would credit that partly to the Colombian men on the sideline. Unfortunately, shot out of bounds right away, but Team Colombia here with another chance, and I am starting to raise my voice to yell over these men. Fernandez with the disc, not a lot of options. That's a nice inside backhand break. Johnson with the disc. And a layout D attempt, but Hess still picks it up. There's no mark here. A lot of poaching defense from Colombia. Finding the open space. And just out of the hands of Jungst, we have a second mistake here right in the red zone.
A little bit uncharacteristic of the U.S., but I think credit has to go to Colombia on that point. A little bit of poaching, but for the most part, really forcing the U.S. handlers to have to work a lot harder than we've seen them on that point. Colombia doing a great job of shutting down any sort of deep look.
And Colombia here to take it on right on the front cone. They're staring at a 4-person wall. That's a tough look, but Laura Arango free on the sideline, out into space, lots of room, one-handed grab. We have Ruiz here with Prieto on the sideline. U.S. zone still struggling to keep up here with this quick Colombian movement. Inside drop squat throw from Cardenas. And out into space, and Colombia able to hold here.
That's a big point for Colombia. They worked hard, forcing 2 or 3 turnovers on that point to give themselves the opportunity to go the full distance, end zone to end zone here, upwind, to score their 6th point of the game.
And that's the energy that we've seen from Colombia all week, that we kind of associate Colombia with from any sort of world championship or, Revolution, for example. We see them a lot on the stage, and that kind of energy is, I feel like, how they survive. That's what pushes them through the games. That's what pushes them ahead over teams like what we've seen in the past here in Canada a few days ago. So that kind of energy is going to push them back. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a quick surge from Colombia now. They're riding a high, and so we have Team USA's offensive line here, and they're just so good. They're so much better than so many of the teams here that we've seen this week. They're just so talented. The U.S. talent pool is so deep, and so now we're going to see what they can do here, see what kind of pressure this ramped-up Colombia women's team can put on them.
If Colombia can get the U.S. to throw a few more throws than what we had been originally seeing from the U.S., forcing them to maybe throw those 5 to 10 passes before they hit the middle of the field, that's where we're seeing Colombia have success on defense.
And that's a nice high grab by Gaskell. Inside shot, looking towards the end zone. Campana doesn't like it, and it's floating, and that's a D. Colombia with the D. A lot of rushed passes from Team USA there. Definitely feeling a little frantic on the field right now. And a huge throw from Gomez. It's going to float, but knocked away. That's Caroline Turnquist. That's a great D.
That's really the first big huck we've seen go up from Colombia. A great option with the wind at their back to just throw that. The Colombian player had steps. Unfortunately, that disc just dying near the end, not quite carrying as far as Colombia would have hoped.
So Gaskell in the middle. She's been being the initiating cut for this U.S. offensive line all morning. Lanier across. Alyssa Earhart taking a shot of her own. Gaskell doing a great job of setting her body into the space and throws it into the end zone. It's going to float, and it's going to get pulled down by Carly Campana.
Both teams really stretching the field on that point. Great to see a few deep looks going up. Always tricky in this wind. You never quite know how it's going to float. The U.S. taking advantage of the height, hitting their tall receivers, stretching that field all the way through to the score.
And we can see there just a fearless shot into the end zone. The wind is definitely gusting less than yesterday. Yesterday it was about 45 kilometers an hour, which was really, really crazy. But that shot into the end zone, it stayed a little bit up high, gave Campana a lot of time to run onto it, but it was out of the hands of Gomez, who was trailing behind. So a really fantastic throw from Gaskell. So now we have USA pulling here to this Colombian squad. USA at 13, Colombia at 6. This game here looking a little out of hand for Colombia, but this is for pride now for sure. They have a chance to set up what they're going to be looking at for the rest of the tournament. Their seeding coming out of the power pools will affect who they're playing moving on. So Colombia here definitely needs to settle down. That's a nice deep pull. Colombia having to take more than 3 passes, even just to get it up to the end zone. We have some person-to-person matchups here from Team USA. And that is a big throw out into space. Cardenas to Cardenas. Choosing to not call a timeout, keeping the momentum. Valeria Cardenas. And a pick called. That's definitely a pretty blobby looking stack. There's a lot of bodies all in one area. Both teams looking a little disorganized. So Valeria Cardenas looking to the end zone. Scuba to Manuela, and she is into the end zone. That is another goal for Colombia.
Well done by Colombia, finding success once again with that fast transition, seeing how deep and how close they were to their own end zone, taking that deep shot. Not a bad option when you have Cardenas striking deep for you to just put it up for her and see what she can do.
And I had the pleasure of being at the World Club Championships a few weeks ago in Cincinnati when that tournament got rained out and we had to go inside into the turf to watch Revolution play. I believe it was Molly Brown at that point, and I was there in person for that incredible layout grab from Laura Ospina, and I believe it was Valeria Cardenas who threw it, and that was possibly one of the most bananas things I've ever seen in person. The crowd went wild. We were all on our feet. It was absolutely electric in there, and I think that's a great example of the kind of throws that Valeria has, and so seeing her put that up to her sister there, it's so exciting. It didn't force a huge layout like we saw in Cincinnati, but definitely exciting ultimate, and that's what we like to see up here. Team USA getting under the pull. Colombia down pretty quickly here for their D. Team USA using a great use of the open side. And that's a jam cut. We are out to the sideline. Gaskell with the disc. Campana stepping around. Mark shuts it down. It's a tough inside shot, but it opens up the break throw, and that is a huge reaching grab from number 1 on Team USA. That's Stacy Gaskell.
That's the person-to-person defense we were hoping to see from Colombia. When they're playing tight, they're forcing the U.S. to make more throws, to have to make more reset cuts. The U.S., though, just doing a great job stepping up into space, able to get nice little I.O. resets to their handlers in the middle of the field, putting them in a great power position to put up a bit of a deeper look there to the receiver.
Yeah, that was nice, and we've seen so much from Stacy Gaskell here this morning. She has been huge for the offensive line here. She's she's quite tall. I believe she's the tallest person on this U.S. team, and she is really great in the air. She has great length, able to bring down any throws that might not be straight at the chest, but also putting up some throws of her own. So really impressive showing here by number 1, Stacy Gaskell.
Colombia offensive line here, standing tall, standing close together, arms wrapped around each other, looking to gather maybe a little bit more momentum late in this game to give themselves something to push towards and look forward to in their next game.
And right away, a run-through block, 4 yards. So Team USA is going to pick up here right on the end zone line. Looks like it's going to be number 95. Rachel has to pick up, flanked by the usual Sky Hernandez. And a little bit of stagnation from the American stack, but Sky Fernandez able to shoot one out to the sideline. Number 11, Dawn Colton gets open, and that's game.
Excellent finish by the U.S., coming down in high-pressure defense, able to force a turnover right on the end zone line, capitalizing, making it look easy once again, just so confident. They seem in each other, in their ability to work the disc across the field, knowing they're going to have receivers getting open. They look like a team that's played together for a long time.
Absolutely, and we saw USA take a quick stumble yesterday to the Netherlands. We really didn't know what this game was going to look like, but they pulled up their shorts and came out to play today. That was an absolutely incredible game by Team USA and a great fight by Colombia as well. I think a lot of good things to take from both sides, but Team USA, they're good. So thanks for everyone for tuning in. We have another game starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so that's in about 50 minutes here. It's going to be a men's game, the Dominican Republic facing off against Hong Kong. So tune back in at 11. Thank you so much for everyone who watched this game, brought to you by Cut Camps. Thanks to some of our other sponsors. We have Greatest Bags, VC, Universe Point, and Discraft here this week, making everything possible. I'm Naomi Redmond, up here in the booth with Melissa Dunmar. Thanks a lot. We'll see you later.